In the previous episode, we extended this tunnel, built some train tracks, and sent them straight through into the nether, where we tapped into this infinite lava source naturally generated that we used to fill up all these tanks, and we even built our first nether factory. And in this factory, we pump lava from the infinite source into tanks that will eventually travel via train all the way to the overworld, where we will use them in our next phase towards steam power. But before we can build the train and bring the lava to the overworld, we need to build a factory on this side, and that factory will be used to produce blaze cakes. So currently all our fluid tanks are filled to the brim with lava, and we have enough supply to start production in the overworld. But you see, we can't just send lava to the overworld because there's nowhere for it to go. So what we need to do is head back that way, and the area in the overworld I'm planning on using is this area over here. So we've got the tunnel over there, the train coming from the nether side, and the idea is for it to come into this area, make some form of turn, offload the lava in a factory area, and then return all the way back to the nether side. But as you guys can see, before we can do that, we need to do some cleaning up work. So I think I need to just rip out a bunch of leaves and grass and just get everything ready, and I'll bring you guys back. Some bushes and grass have been removed, and now we've got a clearer idea of what we need to do. So I marked out the area with stone bricks, so I know that's how wide it's going to be, and I know that's more or less where the platform's going to end. So now what we need to do is clear out this whole area, flatten it out, build a little bit of edges there, and just prepare this area for train tracks and for building. And here we have our little platform completely built. So our train will be going out this direction, and then the idea is for it to turn this way, follow around the edge, all the way back, and then lock into this position right over here again. Okay, we've got one gap from there. So we need to tap from this area, and we need to link it up over here, like that. And then we also want to connect all the way from here straight into this, because that's where the train will be coming back into this area as well. And now on this other side, we're also going to do another one right over here to keep it 3 away. And if we now connect this to this, we have the start of our track. So all I'm going to do now is just going to repeat all of this right over there, and then we'll have our little platform. So now we have the complete train track in here, and I think what we need to do now is determine the station position, and I think we should go a few blocks away from there and then right on this little track over here, and we'll just place down a temporary little station. I think that's perfect. And what will happen is train will come in, it will stop, the wagon will be over here somewhere, and we can pump lava then into the tanks on that side, and from there it can be distributed to the different parts of the factory. So I think for us to see exactly where the wagon's going to be, we need to maybe go fetch the train in the nether and just park it here as a little reference. So we brought the train from the nether and parked it at the station, and now we can see where the wagon's going to sit, and from that we can determine where we want the fluid tanks. So that's where the 2 fluid tanks will go, and then I'll also add some on the other side as backup. But this is the general idea and the layout, and I also added 2 strip cherry blossom blocks over here to show the platforms where the building is going to be. And the thought in general is that this will be for farms and that will be for processing. So the reason we have processing and farming blocks, well, basically we want to make blaze cakes, and to make blaze cakes we've got a whole big process over here. So in the farming block we will have 2 distinct little farms, and that will be sugarcane farm, and we'll also have just a chicken farm, which is just a bunch of chickens laying eggs. And this step is quite simple. Chicken lays eggs and we have eggs. But the sugarcane farm, we're going to have sugarcane, and that will then go into the processing plant where we'll turn that into sugar. We'll also just have an area where we can deposit netherrack, and netherrack will go into the processing plant with crushing wheels, and it will become cinder flour. We can automate the crafting of netherrack, but that's a really long process for something we can get so easily. And we get a lot of netherrack because I go farming for ancient debris quite often for the subscriber tunnel. So once we have those 3 items in the processing plant, we'll combine them into a basin, and those 3 items will then get pressed down into the basin and become a blaze cake base, which we will then use a spout to spout lava on top of the blaze cake base, and that will produce blaze cakes. So it looks like a lot of things, but it's actually really simple to build, with the exception of just adding a sugarcane farm in this little square and making it efficient enough. So I might stack multiple on top of each other and even go down. We'll see how it goes. But I think the first thing I need to do now is maybe just get the sugarcane farm in this area, even though it won't have a structure around it. Just get it all stacked up, and maybe even the chickens as well, and then I'll bring you guys back. After a whole lot of planning and playing around in creative, I think I finally came up with a design, and in this little space we can fit 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to make it run using a minecart contraption that will sit in this position, run back and forth the whole time, deposit items that will run via drawers storage units, all the way to this point where we then can move it anywhere into this build. But I think the first thing we need to do is grab the materials and come build the little sugarcane farm. So I'm back, I gathered up all the resources, and I do think the hardest one to find or to get ready was the rich soil. I mean, I did have to set up a very sophisticated system, but in the end it was totally worth it. So let's jump into this build. So the first thing on our to-do list is the stairs, and we're going to line the whole farm with stairs all the way to the edge, and we're going to bring it over one, and this one we're going to do a little return, and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. And then once the stairs are in, we're going to have 2 rows of rich soil, and the fact that this is rich soil makes it so that we can have sugarcane growing on this side without touching any water, which makes it a bit more efficient. And the last thing left for the growing platforms is literally just to add water into these. And the reason why we need water is basically rich soil, if it has water next to it or close to it, it does have a chance to use the bone meal effect on crops growing on it. So that's why we have water. Now we can just add the sugarcane, and that's it for our growing platforms. They're all in there and ready for the next part, which is the harvester. So for the harvester, we're going to come to this area over here, and I'm just going to start it at this point right now. And then we're going to go 1 up, which is in line with the sugarcane. And then on top of this one, I'm just going to place 2 barrels, and that is just for storage. I don't think we'll ever fill it up, but better safe than sorry. And then we're just going to go out 2 by 2 andesite casing on either side, and this is just the area we're going to fix our harvesters to, so that when we do have this machine running and it does come across something that's ready to harvest, it'll harvest, deposit it into the barrels, and then send it down to the portable interface that we'll add later on. So this is basically it. This is it for the contraption part of the farm, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them all in, and I'll bring you guys back once it's done. There we have the farm with all 4 growing platforms installed, and it's ready to go. So what I've done is already down here, I came down 1 block underneath the layer where the crops are planted. I put down a portable storage interface looking downwards, and then left 1 space. I ran some andesite casing all along here with some power rail on top of that and a redstone block to power it. And then right underneath that, I have a portable interface looking up, so that will connect to that interface on the contraption, which will then chuck items out and chuck items then into this barrel, which is temporary. We will add it to a drawer unit. But to get the system going, we need to make sure that this minecart is set to lock rotation, and then we can power it. It should lift everything up. And now if we break that and just get it ready, we're going to have to push this. Oh, it must have harvested some items. So it's first going to deposit those items. There we go. And that's complete. So now the system will just continue running, and that's everything it got from that first little harvest, which is quite a lot. And now it can just passively generate sugarcane while we're in the area and while we build this little farm over here. So now that we have the sugarcane farm running and it's producing, I think the next thing we need to do is maybe just get this building sorted. But before we do that, what I want to do is just install a little platform around this build, a floor for the building, so we just see what we have to work with. Okay, so we have the platform in. I did lift up the tanks over there, and then this wooden box just outlines the actual factory. So the idea is that we'll have lava pumping from the train into those tanks, and then from there we will distribute the lava to the point where we turn the blaze cake bases into blaze cakes. But also we need to add into this area a chicken egg, well, an egg farm, a plant where we process sugarcane into sugar, and then also netherrack into cinder flour. So I think that's what we need to figure out first before we build the structure around it. So this took a whole lot more of planning, and I did put in the basics just because I had to wrap my head around it all. So let me quickly run you all through it as we place the funnels and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So connecting from this farm with trims at the bottom, we have sugarcane coming in, and this sugarcane is going to be dispatched out of this storage drawer into that one. So over here we can just do that and that, and we don't really need to do an input because only sugarcane will be produced in this farm, or we don't need to do a filter, I mean, because only sugarcane will be produced in this area. Then over here we'll have chickens in this cage laying eggs, and the eggs will go along the conveyor. And over here we're just going to put this down, so this will be our little input into the system, and we've got a bunch of draw controls here. I know it's not ideal. If there's a simpler way of doing that, let me know, but that's how I'm going to do it for now. So that's what we'll have over there, and that's going to be an input. Over here we have netherrack. We can right click over there, netherrack goes in, crushed down, becomes cinder flour, and that will also join the system, where we'll have all of these filters over here. And then this one right over here, we're going to do it like that. We'll have cinder flour coming out of that one, that will go into a basin. And over here we'll have two additional ones as well, one of these dispatching eggs and the other one sugar, and they'll all meet up in the center where we'll get a basin that picks them up, and the basin will mix everything together or press everything together. And over here we'll have this one going into that, and that will be for the blaze cake bases. So that's those filters, and this one over here we'll do like that, and this will only dispatch blaze cake bases, which will then transport all the way over here. And in the center we will cover them with magma, with lava, and over here we're going to do that, and just for safety that will be the blaze cake filter. So now we should have all the funnels in place and everything. So now on this side we can start adding the belts to create the blaze cake bases. So first of all, we know we're going to have an input into that, and we also know we're going to have this over here. We're going to have some belts running both of these lines from there to here as well. So let's connect those up. So we know that these all need to spin the same direction, this one and this one, as well as this one. So we're just going to extend those, and then we can extend that one like that, because all of these need to run in that direction, and this one is the only one that needs to spin in the opposite direction. So right over here we can do our basin just like that, and then on top of these, on these, we can just add a bunch of funnels. And our ingredients, this one again is cinder flour, so we'll have cinder flour flowing in there. This one is eggs, so we'll have eggs going into that one. And this one is sugar, so we'll have sugar going into that one. And right over here, we can just say you're producing blaze cakes. And that should be it for all of that. And then right above that, we just have our press that will be pressing down and creating the blaze cake bases. So I think that is everything in. We've got all the little components. In this area, we're just going to do a little spout, and the spout will just make sure that lava gets spouted onto the blaze cake bases before they turn into blaze cakes, and that will come from these two containers that we'll just raise up a bit, say around about there maybe, and then we'll just run lava from those into the spout over here. So I think what we need to do is I need to connect up the pipe, and I need to sort out the power, make sure everything has power, everything's working, and then I'll bring you guys back. So I've hooked up all the power parts and everything's working, but I also made a little bit of a mistake. I turned on the machine before I spawned some chickens, so we're out of eggs. So I need to go chicken hunting. But for now, everything's working, and You guys can see everything's running, everything's going. We've got this tank built up, we've got the pump running. I just don't have lava pumping into this yet, but we've got some blaze cake bases, we've got sugar, we've got cinder flour, we've got no eggs, and everything's just going quite smoothly, I think. So the only thing we need to do is just test to see if this makes blaze cakes, and I think if I right click, no. So I'm gonna have to get the lava in there somehow. So I wonder if we can make like a little temporary thing over here, and we break this, and let's just add another one there. But if we add lava here, this should take it, and it looks like it's spouting onto stuff there. It is. So the whole factory is working. We just need to feed lava into this thing, and then we have automated blaze cakes. Fantastic. So I think the next thing we need to do is maybe just buckle up and just do a really big montage as we try and cover these two builds completely. So enjoy. And we've done it. We've covered both builds, and I have to say I love it. I love the contrast between the two buildings, and I think the white building is maybe my favorite, but it might just be due to the new block palette. So the block we're currently using here is just normal smooth stone that we just used, put through the chipped mod. We also addressed the little area around this. We added some slabs and trapdoors and just filled in the colors. And if we head on in here, we've got our fluid tanks, got our sugar cane. We finally have some chickens, which took quite a while to breed up, but now we have everything working. We've got sugar cane being processed into sugar, netherrack into dust, for cinder flour, and we've got 24 blaze cakes, and the only thing that's holding us back is the lava. But that will not be happening this episode. No, we need to build the lava express, and that will only happen in the next episode. But it's that time again. It's time for us to say thank you to every single one of you that's been supporting us. And this week we're going to say thank you to 4 people. And the reason for that is last week's video had such good traction, and I just think it's right that we take advantage of that and say thanks to Lamul. Thank you so much for your support. I hope I pronounced that right. Names aren't my strong suit. But there you go. You've got your little flower. You've got your little place in the appreciation tunnel. The next one is Vinizada. Vinny, I appreciate all the comments. Then we've got Logan Bennett. Oops. We've got Logan Bennett, which I will rename because I changed it to Ancient Debris now. And then the last one, and so this person is South African, and I hope I am catching what he's putting down in his username. It is basically Kunane Cottontail. So if I'm picking up what he's putting down, that first part, the KU with the hyphenation to Nane, that's actually what we call a rabbit in Afrikaans in my mother tongue, and it's a Kunane. So I actually think that's what he did, and that is so funny. But anyway, I appreciate every single one of you that partakes in the community, who comments, who likes, who gives suggestions, and just feedback in general. I really do appreciate every single one of you just making this great, making this adventure totally worth it.